Y'all, it is so good to be with you. Just hug the person next to you real fast. Just say, I love you. Let's have a little family night tonight. Can we do that? I love you. I just helped somebody out. I don't know who, but I'm here to help a brother out. Has it been a good week, y'all? Has it been good? Well, I got to tell you, I get really excited about tonight. And here's one of the main reasons I get excited, because tonight is something that I really do believe probably most impacts the majority of the people in the room, because a lot of you are just like me. So here's the thing, I know this, I know we've talked about Jesus, I know that we've talked about shame, I know that we've talked about sin, I know that we've talked about the fact that just literally on the cross, I don't care what you hold in your hand, it is what? Finished, y'all. And some of you, maybe that was your first time. Some of you, that wasn't your first time, but you felt it again. You felt the weight of your shame. You felt the weight of your sin. And you sat there and you recognized that there is a Savior, the one who came, Creator God, who spoke the universe into existence, who literally, with power, with might, with majesty, showed everything he could in creativity and his power, his intelligence, his design, his beauty, and then somehow he still wants to be closer. He wants to move in more into like a more intimate relationship with you. So he literally wraps himself in skin and comes down and pays you and I. Not only does he show us how to live, and he does, it's one of my favorite things about Jesus, but then Creator God lays down his life, pours out his blood on the cross for us, and it's finished. But it's not finished with the cross, because then 3 days later he pops up out of the tomb, and now we're talking power. Now we're talking, this is no, kind of a light thing. This is a God who said, look death in the face and said, I don't care, bring me the best that you have. He didn't just kill death for Jesus, he killed death for everyone. That's my Jesus. And so here's the thing, I love this, because in this moment, you've been following Peter all week, and I know that you've maybe found some different things, and maybe you found some new things, but I bet you've heard, a lot of you, the same things you've heard every year in a moment like this. And I want to tell you, Peter heard it, Peter looked for it, Peter saw it, and all of a sudden, this is in the story. And then we should have right now a sonic boom in the room, right? I mean, this is when Peter, after all his mistakes, 3 times he denied, Jesus dies on the cross, he resurrects from the grave. Death, where is your victory? Death, where is your sting? Creator God has won. And here's where we should find Peter up, like filled with the Holy Spirit, speaking boldly, telling everybody about him. I mean, we should see him with joy in his heart, with hope in his eyes, walking around saying, man, come on, you know what I know, let's do this. And like walking around and living out that kingdom mission that Peter was made for. Isn't this the time? But see, that's not the story. Because the story took a little different and then. That's going to be the story, and we'll get there, but y'all not yet. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read the story kind of the way that it went down, and I want to read out of John chapter 21. It says this, and I love this. It says, afterward, or and then. Now, just real fast, I want you to know, Jesus has already shown himself to the disciples. He first came to the girls. Where you at, girls? First came to the girls. Love that about him. First came to the girls, and then he showed himself to the disciples, and they're all ready. As a matter of fact, he told them, hey, he said, man, when I'm up, and I promise you, I'm coming back, but when I come back, I'm going to meet you back in your home turf. And so they've been spending time in Jerusalem, so they take about a 7-day walk up to where their home turf was. They get home. Some of you have experienced that. You have this mountaintop thing, and then you go home, and he says he just wants to see him. It says this, and then Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee, and he says, this is how it went down. Simon Peter, remember the guy we've been talking about, Thomas, also called the twin, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, trouble, those two, and the other disciples are together, and all of a sudden, they're sitting around, and Peter says, hey, y'all, I'm going to go fish. And they said, all right, we'll go with you. So they went out in the boat, and that night they caught nothing. Now, you and I, are any fishermen? Any people that like fishing in the room? Anybody? There's like a couple. Girls, come on. My little girl, she's 7. She's a fisherman. Okay, so When we think of fishing, we think of like killing time, right? We think of like rod and reel and like zzz, bobber, you're like, unless like you're pros and then you're way beyond me. But fishing is like when I have some time to kill, I'm just going to kill. But I just need you to know that's not what's going down here. Because for these guys to go fishing and the kind of fishing that they're about to go to and that we're going to find out later in the story, this isn't like I'm going to go rod and reel, I just got some time to kill. These guys are about to go back to the thing that they always thought they were going to do growing up. See, from the time they were young, they thought, they saw in their eyes, it was a pretty lucrative industry. As a matter of fact, it was one of the main industries at the time. It was a pretty wealthy area. I know a lot of people don't talk about that, but if you were in the fishing biz and you could run a fishing business, you actually did pretty well for yourself. And so these little dudes, when they were growing up, they were watching these successful fishermen saying, I'm going to be like that dude. I'm going to be like that dude. Peter, when Jesus found him the first time, was a successful fisherman. Led a fishing enterprise. And so when we hear him say right here, we hear him say, hey, y'all, I'm thinking I'm going to go fish. We're not hearing what's happening. Because Peter says, man, yes, Jesus is resurrected. Yes, there's power for us. Yes, he is who he says he is. Yes, my sin is gone. But, you know what, fellas? Maybe we should go back to the dream, back to the thing. Let me ask you this question. What do you do? What do you do when you've experienced the cross, when you've seen the resurrection, but somewhere in between you recognize that you're not the person you're supposed to be? What happens when all of a sudden I know who I'm supposed to be. I've heard this enough. I've heard him speak to my chest. I've experienced his power. I've felt those feelings. But I'm telling you, I've been home. I've gotten to the place where I know who I'm supposed to be. But that's just not who I am. Have you ever felt stuck, sidelined? I'm telling you, you thought, man, here's Peter, man, like same old crew, same old plans. You ever been that way? You felt something, you're going to be different, and you go back and you think everything's going to be so different, everything's going to be different. Remember that? Everything's going to be different. I'll never be the same again. You go back, but it's the same, isn't it? Soccer's still soccer. Gaming's still gaming. It's lame. I'm sorry, don't hate on me for that. School, gonna pick up a lot of chicks that way, bro. I'm playing. I'm playing. Let's get back to Jesus. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Matt, why do you do that? I'm sorry. It was too easy. Okay. Same old crews, same old plans. Ever been there? I bet you have. You go, well, Peter made a mistake, man. I get it. Like, I get why that cat can feel like, what, everybody else, I had my shot. I used to be the guy. He whispered destiny in my ear. But here's the thing. I knew I was supposed to. I knew I was going to, and I got right up to the edge, but I don't know if that's who I am. I tried it. I'm just not sure that, Peter's, sometimes we think that the three denials are his first mistakes. They're not his first mistakes, y'all. Do you remember that? One of his first mistakes happened on the same water. As a matter of fact, if you remember this, the fellows were out on the boat, and they were rowing, and they were going across, and a big storm came down. And as the storm came down, they kind of freaked out because apparently they didn't want to die. And all of a sudden, Jesus, and it's one of my favorite stories, but he starts cruising across the water. I love in the text where it says he was about to just go on by. Like, he wasn't even going to stop. He's like, what's up, suckers? And he's just like going to cruise on by, and they yell out to him, and they're like, Jesus, please be Jesus, Jesus. And he's like, what's up, fellas? And Peter's like, dude, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. And all of a sudden, here's the moment. He's supposed to come out, and what's he supposed to do? He's supposed to keep his eyes fixed on Jesus. He's not supposed to be afraid. He's not supposed to worry about things. You got Jesus right there. He's walking on the water. He's got like everything you need. I'm on my way. But what happens when Peter gets out there? He starts looking around, right? Don't we do that? He starts looking around, he starts being afraid, he starts fixing his eyes on everything else, and all of a sudden he starts sinking, and that's not his only mistake. I mean, literally, he continues, and, I love this when they're like 3 years into the relationship. That sounded weird, but like when they've been friends for like 3 years, and they go up to this place called Caesarea Philippi, and he looks Peter in the eyes and says, "Who do you think that I am?" Peter says, "I think that you're the Christ." And he's like, "Man, I'm telling you, you're going to be the leader of my church. You're a rock, Peter. I know who you are. I see what's inside of you. I know who you are, and on that confession, I'm going to build my church, and I'm going to do it with you." And then all of a sudden, he starts telling, and Peter's like, "What's up, fellas?" And then all of a sudden he starts laying out the fact, but here's how it's going to go down. About 6 months from now, I'm going to have to go lay my life down on the cross. And Peter says, "I don't care who you are, but that's not happening. You are not giving up your life, and you need to come up with another plan." And Peter literally hears from Jesus the thing you never want to hear from Jesus: "Get behind me, Satan." It's not just that. It's on the last night, and I've been there, and a couple of the people in the room that went to Israel with me, because that really happened. It was awesome. Anyways, yeah, I see you. Okay, so we went to Israel. No big deal. Anyway, so, you go down into the, the garden in midnight, and he's out there praying. He's on his, if you ever needed a friend, if Jesus ever needed a friend, it's now. And he's in the garden, and he can feel the weight, and he can feel the pressure, and he knows where he's going. He tells the 3 guys that are closer, not even a stone's throw away. And he's like, "Fellas, I need you tonight, man. I need you tonight. I need you to pray, man. I'm feeling weak. Please, would you pray? It's a big deal. Tonight's the night. Please pray." He comes back there asleep. And he's like, "Fellas, man, I needed you tonight." This is not the first time Peter's failed Jesus. But it is the first time something hits him that's a little different. I mean, I know you've been talking about this word a little bit. It's called shame, and I want to make a difference real fast, because you can hear words and they can all kind of be the same thing, but we all make mistakes, right? We all make mistakes, we get that, and there are mistakes that we make, and mistakes that we know aren't good, the mistakes that we know they're going to cost us, but they're mistakes. They don't define us. They don't redirect our destiny to the same degree. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I have friends, and right now we've got people coming in our lives. I go to this gym, and in this gym there are these guys, and they're total meatheads, but they're like falling in love with Jesus. It's been really, really cool. And so when they're coming to Christ, and they come around the kids, or I've got neighbors that are down, and they're coming to, one of my favorite, stories of one of my neighbors. He comes down, and I have one of my kids here, and all my kids will be around, and they're starting to find Jesus, and they just make mistakes like all the time, man. They just make mistakes. And they're like, one of them, he was reading a book, and he was like, and I'm like, "Man, what's going on?" He's like, "Dude, that book you gave me." I'm like, "Yeah." Like all my kids are around. He's like, "That effing book is changing my life, man." I'm like, he's like, "I shouldn't say effing, right?" And I'm like, "Just please, probably a little bit less." But it's a mistake. Like, we know the mistakes. Like, we know the things that we do that we shouldn't do, but I don't want to talk about that stuff tonight. I want to talk about that thing that's inside of your chest, that after the King of Glory stepped into your life and told you who you were and gave you the power and gave you the authority and resurrected from the dead so that none of this can hold you, I want to talk about the thing that has got you locked up, stuck in the boat with that old name, with that old crew. You thought you heard, you know what, maybe you're going to use me in some different way, but all of a sudden, you're back to your old life. No power. No intimacy. I mean, when you experience the first time, you just remember it in here, and sometimes some of you step in this room and you got to conjure it up again because it's been so long since you felt him. It's been so long since you've heard his voice. It's been so long, and you're trying to make this thing happen for you, and you just feel this void. And why? Because you know you blew it. And doesn't that hurt? I mean, Jesus did what he said he was doing. He said he was going to die on the cross for our sins. Yeah, he did. He said he was going to resurrect, and I'm telling you, he did. That's not the problem. The problem is we blew it. Right? I mean, after we knew all that, we missed our shot. Guess what? You should have been stronger. You should have been. You know what? You shouldn't have You shouldn't have went to that party. You shouldn't have kept dating them. You knew that. Man, you shouldn't have given in. And if I could take you back to that moment when you experience the cross, when you experience the power of resurrection, I'm telling you, I promise if you're like me, you're like, geez, you're like, man, just point me to somebody that needs to hear about Jesus. Just like send me home. Get every friend that I know in the room. Get my family in the room. Get anybody. I'm telling you, I am going home on fire. I'm going to tell anybody. I'm going to tell everybody about Jesus. But the problem is you went home and you didn't get a microphone, did you? Instead of a microphone, a week later, it was a basement. You didn't know you would blow it so soon. And I got to be honest, you didn't think you'd blow it for something so small. And I got to tell you, there's lots of reasons you did. I think that's true in Peter's life too. There's lots of reasons that he blew it. I have, he's with me and he told me I could tell a story, so I think it's cool. But Levi is my 9-year-old. He's turning 10, and for his birthday, he wanted to be with the coolest people on the planet. That's you right here. And so his birthday is on Saturday, and we're just hanging out for the whole weekend. It's going to be like super awesome. We're excited. So pretty cool. We'll see you on Saturday night at the celebration. It's going to be awesome. So, yeah. But I'll just tell you, he grabbed me the other night, and you'll be able to relate with this. He grabbed me the other night, and he looked super disturbed, and he's like super happy dude, like all the time. He's like me, like we're just pretty happy people. And he's looking at me, and he's like, he looks at me in the eyes, and he kind of gets a little teary-eyed, and he said, "Dad, can you come up to my room and talk?" And I was like, "What's up, man?" He said, I just need to talk. He's 9. I said, "Yeah, man, I'll be up in just a sec." So I put my little man down and did a few things, and I go upstairs, and I sit on the corner of his bed, and I'm like, "Buddy, what's going on?" And he starts tearing up, and he starts getting all, I wouldn't say crying, but just like man cry, you know what I'm saying? And I said, "Bud, what is going on?" He goes, "Dad, I feel like such a fake. I feel like such a phony." I was like, "Son, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Dad, I call myself a Christian, and I just have all these questions." 9 years old. I have all these questions about God and his existence and about time and about space. And I'm going, slow down, 9-year-old, right? He's like, "Dad, I don't know how you can have a forever backwards. I don't know how I can have a forever forwards. And I have all these questions. I have all these doubts, and I just feel like a liar. I just feel like I've got all these doubts, and so there's no way I can have all these doubts and be a Christian. Like something's wrong with me. Like Dad, what do I do to fix it?" And some of you, I got to be honest, man, you got pulled out of the game because you ran into a few doubts, and you started to feel the guilt of, man, I just have all these doubts, and there's no way that I can be if this really happened. Maybe it's because everybody's split. Peter is literally, we give him a lot of flack, but he's still the dude that's hanging out. He's the guy that when it all went down, he pulled out a sword and cut off the dude's ear. He's the guy that when everybody split, he still at least went up. I've been in this place where he's inside in the chamber, and there's this courtyard outside, and you can picture it, and it's not very big, and he's just waiting there, just waiting. Is something else going to happen? Is there something that I can do? I'm not giving up on the story, but here's the thing, man, like even in the midst of that, everybody else split. Did everybody else split on you? You had a moment like this, or you had a Jesus moment, or I don't know if it was on retreat or something like that, but you're like, man, we're on fire. Jesus died. Jesus resurrected. This changes everything. And there's like, you expect all this stuff, but you go home, and this dude goes this way, and this girl goes this way, and you feel like you're all by yourself. So you just go back. Maybe you're kind of like there's this little dude. As a matter of fact, I was praying for you guys, and I was writing this sermon. I was sitting in this coffee shop, super funny. And as I'm sitting in this coffee shop, I'm working. There's like this little, you know how like they have those little sweet little, I don't know why I said that, but like little seating areas, and it's like you're like sitting on each other's laps, kind of. They're like so small. It's not like fellas, we need our space. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, we're sitting there, and I'm working on this sermon. And this little dude walked in, so cute, super chubby, so cute little kid. Like 10 years old, and he walks on, and like every 9-year-old, 10-year-old, he's just gaming, just like not even like looking where he's walking, he's gaming. And I'm sitting here, and I'm working on my sermon, and he comes and sits like almost on my lap. like sits like here, like next to me. And I'm like, hey, buddy. And he doesn't even look up, right? He's just gaming away. And all of a sudden his grandma, I think it was his grandma, she came over and she sat down across the table. And she looked at him and she goes, Nick! It's like, whoa, rough, Grandma. She goes, Nick! And he goes, what? Nick! Plays in my mind. Where's your dad? Nick. Little boy, the only thing he does, he looks up, looks at Grandma, he said, straight-faced, 10-year-old dude, said, you mean Dave? Yeah, remember, he's my stepdad. He didn't want me to have his name. And he goes back to gaming. And I just sat back as I'm sitting here looking at Shane, talking about literally preaching a sermon on how do we get restored, how do we get past, because it locks us up. I watched this little boy for the next few minutes as he just got up and he just walked out the door following his parents. And some of you, I got to be honest, the reason you're locked up in shame, the reason that the voice that the King of Glory has spoken into you, calling you to something great, the reason that it's been squashed, the reason that you're stuck in a boat 100 yards off the shore trying to go back to your old life is because you thought for a second you could be something different, but when you went back, you came face to face with the fact that there was something that someone else did to you, and you're never really going to measure up. I mean, there's no way, not you, maybe that dude, maybe her. Some of you, and my heart breaks for you because I'm like you, I'm a former abused kid. And some of you, the things that have happened to you hurts not just my heart, hurts the Father's heart. And in that place, it is so hard for you to really believe that because of what's happened to you, that God can really do something in you, through you. I had a girl, I can't even make this up, this was a week and a half ago, and I'm out, and this young guy that I've been pouring into runs up, and he's like, dude, Matt, will you meet this person? I've been praying for her, and I was like, yeah, man, what's going on? And she comes over, and he said, just show him the phone. Just show him the phone. And I was like, what's going on? Just show him the phone. Sophomore girl, cute little thing, grabs her phone, and she just kind of puts her head down. She hands me the phone. And I start scrolling through, and I apologize for my language, and so I'm not trying to like do shock and awe. But it's like, you filthy little skanky whore, you'll never be worth anything. I hope that a guy does this and that to you, and you'll never amount. And I'm like, what is this? She goes, that's my dad. So see, I know there's a lot of you locked up for a lot of different reasons in shame, and there are voices in your head, and I just sat as that girl as I tried to tell her who she was, and I promise you, I felt like I was talking to a brick wall. Because there are some things, this 5-letter word called shame, that it's bigger than the sum total of our mistakes. It's this thing that from the outside that says, you'll never be who you're supposed to be. You're never actually going to measure up. You had your shot, and I'm just telling you, it's not for you. You know what? You can kind of be in the boat. You can kind of be around. You can kind of have the intellectual fact that, yes, he died for my sins, and yes, I believe it, and yes, he resurrected, but I just don't feel like I'm in, like I just, all I feel is this distance. Feel distance? So I might as well go back, right? I might as well go back to what I know. I mean, I'm not gonna like totally step into disbelief, but I might as well go back to just soccer being soccer. I might as well just go back to gaming, right? Might as well go back to just shallow relationships. Dating boys, even though I know these boys just keep hurting me, but you know what? I might as well go back to might as well be, you know what it is. I might as well just go back to smoking weed. I might as well just go back to sleeping around. I might as well just go back to playing the same old high school game. But I'm just here to tell you tonight, as your brother who gets to come out here every once in a while and just love you and pray over you, not as much as your unbelievable volunteers and youth pastors, but can I just tell you something? Y'all, some of you are like 1,000, you're like 100 yards away from Jesus. He's like right there. And you're locked up and you're numb and you're just living the same old thing. But I'm here to tell you that Jesus isn't content to leave you in the boat tonight. I love this. I'm going to give you a picture real fast. This is a picture of the Sea of Galilee. This is literally the first time I went to Israel. This is the most powerful picture because when I went there, I didn't see this coming. I actually go there quite a bit now because I love Jesus, come to find out, and I love knowing more and teaching more, and just the more I learn about him, he's the dude. So he's not a dude. You know what I'm saying? So on this shore, this is likely the shore where Peter and Jesus got to see each other face to face for the first time. Isn't that cool? Like it's the only beach, and it's either within like 50 yards this way or 50 yards this way, and their hometown was here, and this is it. And so I got to sit myself right down there, a couple times, and just process. And I just want you to read the story with me. It says in verse 4, it says, early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples didn't realize it was Jesus. Now, don't bag on him. It's like early morning. It's like, literally it's about to tell us it's about 100 yards away. It's pretty distant. I don't know if you've been around water in the morning, but there's usually like that, like kind of like fog over the water, and you can't really see. And all of a sudden it says, he called out to them, and he uses this word slang, not to be nerdy, but slang. He's like, "What's up, fellas?" And he goes, "Don't you have any fish?" And they've been fishing all night, and they're like, "Man, get off me." Like, "No, we don't have any fish." Like, they answered. And then he said, it's like playing a little practical joke on him. He's like, "Why don't you throw your net on the other side of the boat, and you might find some." And when they did, you can imagine as soon as they heard that, they're like, "Oh, snap, I know who that is. It's the same dude that the first time he called us, remember the net?" And so they threw it over on the other side of the boat. They weren't unable to haul in the net because of the large number of fish. And then the disciple whom Jesus loved, we get it, John, he loved you. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It's Jesus, it's the Lord." And I love this part. It says as soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It's the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off for some. Anyway, let's just stop. Has anyone ever said, "You know what, I'm going to go for a swim. You know what I need? More clothes. I think I need to put more clothes on for a little swim"? Said no one ever. And so all of a sudden, I just want you to catch this awkward, talking about people being awkward. Peter is like the most awkward, he's like, "It's Jesus." And he's like, doesn't know what to, he's like, "You're in the fish, and that's him, and I've got it, and I know." And so he puts his clothes on and jumps in the water and swims. Funny enough, he barely makes it to the shore faster than the guys in the boat. It's not even a good idea. But something inside me tells me that Peter knew something that you and I need to hear. Because see, Peter, I love this about him. He knew Jesus enough to know that something dawned on him. He realized, I don't have to stay here. See, I don't have to stay here because, see, I've been around Jesus. And I remember that time. I remember when they took that woman that they were trying to play, kind of trying to get Jesus caught in a kind of a hard place. And they had this woman, they kind of set the whole thing up, and she gets caught in adultery, and she comes in naked and throws him in front of Jesus, and everybody picks up a stone, and they say, "What do you say?" And all of a sudden, he looked at that woman, and I saw the compassion in his eyes. And I remember that time when we went into that religious guy's room and he was asking Jesus like question after question, trying to bust him, trying to figure out, trying to get him caught in something. And then there was that sleazy, woman of the night that slept with half of the dudes in town, but nobody will admit it. And she came in, and she had that jar of perfume that was mixed with her tears. And I remember when she came, and all of her just, nobody even knew what to do, and she came to his feet. And I remember the way he looked at her, and the way he loved her, and the way he didn't see her the way everybody else in the room saw her. And all of a sudden, I'm reading this in, but I think Peter just realized, man, I don't have to stay here. I've got to get face to face with him. I don't care what he says. I just have to be with him face to face. And verse 8 says this, it says the other disciples followed in the boat, towing in a net full of fish, for they weren't that far from shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals. Don't miss this. There's only 2 times in Scripture that this is even mentioned ever. There with fish on it and some bread. And I just want you to catch this scene. I don't want you to miss this scene because Peter is about to have his face-to-face. And I'm just going to be super bold with you. Some of you so desperately need to have a face-to-face with him tonight. You know everything. But you're about 100 yards away. And I just get that picture in your head. Last time Peter was fishing on a shore, Jesus whispered in his ear and said, hey, I've got something better for you. Let's go fish for men. Last time, literally the last time they had a meal, it was in Luke 22:33. They were breaking bread, and Peter was saying, I'll never fail you. I'll never fail you. Even if everybody else does, I will not fail you. Last time Jesus saw Peter across a coal fire, three times denied. So what's Peter thinking? I know how this face-to-face is going to go, right? So let's just ask the question, if you were to have a face-to-face with Jesus tonight, how would it go? What would he say? Because it's funny, because sometimes when I think about a face-to-face, or when I ask somebody about a face-to-face, and if you even give time with people to have a face-to-face, it's like the first thing that you expect when you come into contact with Jesus, he knows my denial, he knows my secrets, he knows my lies, he knows my hurt, he knows what's been done to me that I can't get over. He knows the people that I can't forgive, and I know that I'm supposed to, but I've been so hurt. He knows the hurt that you have caused someone else. See, the text says this. It says, when they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Do you love me? I mean, like, don't look at anybody else. I mean, like, more than these guys. Do you love me? You need to know, any time Jesus asks you a question that seems obvious, it's probably not obvious. Peter says, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, okay, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter said, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. You know that I do. And Jesus said, okay, then take care of my sheep. Third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was kind of hurt, right? I get it. I denied you 3 times. You're going to make me. Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus says, feed my sheep. It's funny when you have a face-to-face with Jesus, you always think one way it's going to go. And then I promise you, when you have a face-to-face with Jesus, there's always a different way that ends up going down. I love this because I didn't hear Jesus ask him one time, Probably the thing that Peter was thinking, and it's probably the thing that you and I think of. It's the first thing, and we've been a little distant, and we finally had that face-to-face with Jesus, and we didn't go home, and we didn't make a difference, and we didn't, and we just want to get with him, and you just expect him to say, so why'd you blow it? I mean, like, for real, like, why'd you blow it? You know you should have gone to the basement. You know you should have went to there. You know you shouldn't have done that. You know you should have gotten more people around you. You know you should have kept going to church. Man, you're off on an island. You should have. Why? But the problem is that's not what Jesus says. Do you love me? Peter, do you love me? Because if you love me, let's get back to that thing I called you to. Remember what I whispered in your ear? Remember that thing that you felt for a second you could be? Do you love me? Let's get back. And I just feel tonight, and I'm literally, I hope this goes okay. Sometimes I don't know. I've just been praying. We're just going to see how it goes. But I think for some of you tonight, it's going to be time to awkwardly jump out of the boat and have a face-to-face with Jesus. Here's reality. In the kingdom, let me just be like for real with you right now. There are times, and this is part of the kingdom, there are times when I feel like the biggest fraud on the planet. There are times when I've had struggles, and I promise you, not like I cussed when I hit my thumb or something like that, not like deep flaws, because I have hurts in my past and Jesus is still hearing me, but there are times when I am so not the person that I know that he's made me to be, and then I walk into the gym and I see these people around and I have a choice. I either wallow in shame and continue to hear the enemy's voice saying, you're never gonna be, or I wake up in the morning and I remember that this is not the gospel of works, it's the gospel of grace. And I wake up and I just say, Father, I think you want to use me today. And I knew who I was. I don't like who I was. I don't like who I was last night. I don't like the mistake that I made last night. But today I choose to wake up and I love you. And I want to be what you've whispered in my ears. And sometimes I can't be that person. And sometimes I blow it. But I'm telling you, if I could just see your face, if I could just sense your presence, I'm just telling you, there are neighbors in my past. There are people that have come to Christ in our worlds. And I'm just telling you, in some of my darkest moments, in some of my worst moments, I've had some moments in my life where seasons in my life where I've had darkness in my heart and doubts in my heart. And I have to come up and preach sermons. And every single time Jesus says to me, Matt, you've got to stop allowing shame, allowing your insufficiencies to knock you out of this thing. One of my biggest lows, and I hope it's okay that I share family stuff with you, but one of my biggest lows, I felt like a failure as a husband. I felt like a failure as a dad, and I'm just struggling through this thing. And I just remember going to him, and I was in the morning, and it was like I was trying to lead my family, but my boys were being just crazy, and like I just wanted to cast demons out of them. They were just like crazy people. And I want them to love Jesus, and they're punching each other and farting on each other like 24/7, and they're rude, and they're in like all these kinds of things. And I just said, Lord, I need you to use me. And it's in those moments where I just get face to face with him. And he just, I'll never forget, he told me, hey, Matt, I want you to bless your kids. And I was like, Lord, I don't know what you mean. He said, just bless your kids. Matt, I haven't given up on you. You got to trust me. You got to trust me. You got to trust me. I'm going to ask you to do some awkward things. You're going to want to get to me. You're going to feel stuck in your boat, feel stuck in your shame. You're going to go, I want to be over there. I want to be close to you, but I don't know how to get there. And the journey from us to getting to him sometimes feels weird. It sometimes feels clunky. We get into the word for the first time. We know that we're like, should I get in the word? I don't know how to do this. I don't know. Should I get into church? What do I do? How do I get close to you? Should I get down on my knees tonight? Should I pray to you? Like, what is it? And Jesus said, I just feel like Peter would say to us, do whatever you have to do to get to him. Stop worrying about it being awkward. And I remember that night, standing. I don't know why this is powerful to me, and I'm not sure why I'm sharing it with you, but I'm just going to. But I just remember standing there, and I got all my kids around, and they were farting on each other, just for the record. And I stood them up in front of me, and I said, hey, tonight, I feel like I've been feeling like a failure as a dad, and I've got some stuff going on, and I've been kind of arrogant, and I've been kind of distant from you guys, and I've just been praying for us, but I just believe what God's going to do in our family, and I believe what he wants to do with you, and I kind of feel like God's been leading me to like bless you guys, and so I dug in there like, huh? I'm like, I don't know either. And so I brought my little girl up, Ava. She's so cute, and I've got a picture of her, the whole family. I want you to put this in your brain if that's okay. This is kind of an updated picture. This is the whole crew, and so we got everybody in the room, and I brought Ava because Luke, no way, like we had to do it when he was sleeping. But I started with the youngest, and I got her up in front of us, and I just looked at her, and I looked her in the eyes, and said, hey, I just want to bless you right now. She's like, okay. Started, and I just started praying over her, and it was kind of awkward. And within 5 minutes, I promise you, God showed up supernaturally in my family in a way he never has before. God did something in our house that night. God did something with our boys last night. God did something in this guy's heart right here. And I just get this feeling that so many of you, y'all, you come here, you hear, you go home, you try to respond, but something happens where you hear it enough, you see it enough, where you're good, you're 100 yards away, but you're still so distant from him. And that voice that he called you with in your ear, it just fades. And I just want you to know, Jesus wasn't done with Peter, and Jesus isn't done with you. And tonight I want to give you an opportunity, and we're just going to take some time, and these guys were cool with it. I just kind of threw it out. Can I just invite you to have a face-to-face with Jesus tonight? And here's the thing, I promise it will be awkward. Guarantee promise. Some of you are going to want to stand, and some of you are going to want to sit. And some of you, it's been so long since you've had time to just talk to him. But I just want to give you time to just stick your stuff right now, and if you want to stand, if you feel like you've been distant, if you've been callous, if you feel like you've been like 100 yards away from him, and you just know, tonight it's time to trust that if I can have a face-to-face with you, I know what you're going to do with me. We just want to give you time. Time to talk to him. Time to run to him. So right now, if you want to stand up or if you want to kneel right now, just do that. We're just going to, whatever it takes to get to Jesus, just whatever it takes. Right now, we're going to Jesus, face to face. If you want to spread out in the aisles, it's great. I'm going to pray over you, and we're just going to give you time. We're not going to go into worship. We're going to let you talk to him. Just talk to him. You're your dad. You're his kids. But you're not staying in the boat tonight, y'all. The time of distance, the time of lack of intimacy, the season that you've been walking in where there's been no power, where you feel like it's just same old life, same old game, same old stuff. I'll be high for a week, but then I'm back to the same old, no longer hearing what it is that Jesus, the great victor, has whispered in my ear. No more. Tonight we're just going to run to him. So Father, I just pray over your kids right now. Father, I just pray, Father, that in the spirit of Peter, that, Lord, there's so many of them that know the truth of the gospel, that have heard this before, but Father, they have spent so much of their life this last year doing the same old thing, the same old way, distant, calloused. Father, some of them, there have been things that have happened to them, and they're just walking in ashamed that nobody knows. Some of them have addictions that it's taking time to break, and the longer it takes to break them, the more they feel like they're just not cut out for this. But Father, I believe, Father, we believe tonight that you're the one who calls us sometimes to walk on the water, sometimes to awkwardly just get out of the boat and say, I would do anything to be close to you, anything to hear your words again, anything to have fire in my bones again, anything to feel that intimacy with you again, anything to really believe that I am wrapped back into the great plans that you have for me, and I'm swimming, and I don't care if I have my clothes on, and I don't care if I don't care who's around me, and I don't care what it looks like, and I don't care I don't care about anything else. I just want you. So Father, I pray right now, would you have a conversation with your kids? Would you just speak to them? So I'm just going to ask you right now, wherever you are, just talk to him. Tell him about your distance. Tell him what's been keeping you back. Tell him about the coldness that's been in your heart. Talk to him. Some of you have home lives back home that you know it's a train wreck. And as soon as you head back, you know it's another train wreck. And you've been down this road before and you've wanted things to be different, but you don't know how. And I'm just asking you tonight, talk to him. Tell him about it. Swim for him. Some of you have blown up relationships in this room, and the very reason that you don't have the kind of network that you need is because you blew it over here and you blew it over here, and you've been hearing as if the God of the universe would say to you, you thought you had to be perfect. You're my kids. Talk to him. Father, we pray tonight in the powerful name of Jesus that when we mess up, when we fail, Father, that we would at every turn, every moment, we even get a glimpse of you stuck in our boat. And that's not just the students in this room, that's the adults in this room, some of the men that should have been better husbands, the mothers that should have been better mothers, any of us who know that we have not been the people of God. We have not been who we know that we have been called to be. And Father, tonight we just swim for you, and we don't care what it looks like anymore, but we just want you. We want your face. We trust that when we get your eyes, when we spend time in your presence, that we don't just hear you tell us what we have, what we've done and what we've missed and what we've blown, but we get a loving Father that looks at us and says, I love you. Do you love me? Then let's get back to what I made you for. Let's get back to what I called you into. Father, tonight we just say to you, there's nothing like being face to face with you, and we trust you. We trust you.